Hi, my name is Sarah, and my channel is Naughty Gnome Crafts. Welcome! It's time for another edition of Friday Sews, and surprise! Today's Friday Sews is actually going to be going up on a Friday. Because it is a holiday weekend, I had some time off of work, and so I was able to film a day earlier than I normally would, so that's why you're seeing this video on Friday. Before I forget, I will be posting another video tomorrow on Saturday, and that is going to be my pattern review of McCall's 7330, the jumpsuit. And it's going to be a collab with a surprise guest. So if you want to see that video and find out what the conclusion of that project was, make sure that you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you'll know when I upload new videos. So today, when I'm filming this, it is Thursday, it's Thanksgiving, so if you are in the US and you celebrate, happy Thanksgiving. I don't really celebrate personally. My husband and I, this is actually our anniversary of when we first became a couple, so we often, not always, but we often spend the day together, just the two of us. And because there's only two of us, we don't do a whole Thanksgiving spread. We actually ordered Indian food. That's kind of our tradition too. So we're just going to enjoy some Indian takeout later this evening. But yeah, my day was kind of relaxing. Like we went into the Erie Canal and took the dogs for a nice long walk. And I came back and I took a nap. And so I'm well rested and ready to show you what I have been working on this week. So I have quite a few finished things to show you. I think I've mentioned this before, but I always find that sewing up knits goes so much faster than sewing up wovens. So I was able to finish 4 things this past week, and I'm almost done with a 5th. So let's just get right into the video and I will share what I've been working on. Oh, I almost forgot, I am wearing my Ally sweatshirt from Sew DIY out of some bamboo, cotton French terry, and some Atelier Brunette sweatshirting, and I will link the video up above in the cards where I talked about this sweatshirt. Okay, first thing that I finished was the Sew House 7 toaster sweater. I think this is the version 2. It's the one with the raglan sleeves and the big turtleneck collar, and then it has cuffs and a band at the bottom. So I actually made a couple of things this week where I had purchased the fabric somewhat recently and I had a plan for it, and I actually followed through and made what I said I was going to, which it seems like that's actually kind of rare, so I'm celebrating it. So I had purchased this quilted knit from Serge Fabrics, and I think it's a cotton poly spandex blend if I remember correctly. And it's similar to some of the other quilted knits. It's like a ponte, but like a quilted ponte. And I have not worn this for a full day yet, but I will say that I have found this fabric nicer to work with, and it feels nicer than the other like polyester based ponte like this that I've worked with in the past. So again, final verdict will be when I actually wear the garment, but I did enjoy this fabric. Now I did find when I went to cut this out that the fabric had more stretch cross grain, so it was stretchier vertically than it was horizontally, and so I ended up cutting it on the cross grain. And I don't think that you can tell. I mean, I think this pattern is very like all over design. It doesn't really matter. I didn't try to match any of the seams, and I'm really glad I did that actually, because I think that it just would have been a waste of time if I'd spent all this time trying to match up the pattern. So I've made this once before. The toaster sweater that I have already in my closet is probably my favorite sweatshirt. I wear it all the time, and so I'd wanted to make another one. So this is the size small, and the only alteration that I made was I shortened the sleeves by 4 inches, and that is absolutely perfect for me. But I have very short arms. So nothing really to say about this. I think I sewed up the whole thing in a couple of hours, including cutting out and sewing. It was very, very easy and quick to do. I needed something that was just sort of mindless that I could put together without really thinking about it too hard. And yeah, this fit the bill really well. I'm really happy with this. So because I had cut out my fabric on the cross grain, I actually had quite a bit of it left. I had ordered 2 yards of the fabric, and I think it was about 60 inches wide. And by cutting the fabric on the cross grain, I had about a yard left. So I was like, what else can I do with this fabric? So I pulled out Simplicity. I think it's 8982. I will put a picture of the pattern cover up so you can see it. And I made this little pencil skirt. So I have made this pattern before, but I made the dress rather than the skirt. So it was my first time doing the skirt, and it was very easy to put together. There's only 3 pattern pieces, but there are some things that I would do differently in the future. So I made the straight size 10, and yeah, there's darts in the back here. And then I did not put the waistband on the way that the pattern tells you to. They kind of want you to do this like semi-complicated thing that makes it so I think so the inside of the waistband has like a clean finish. And I just did it like you would do any sort of normal elastic waistband. Like I stitched it to the garment, left an opening, threaded the elastic through, stitched it closed, and then I just serged around the whole thing because I just think that that's simpler. And happily, this is just an above the knee length skirt, and I didn't have to shorten it at all. It was like the perfect length for me. So do be warned if you want to make this the shorter version of the skirt. I'm only 4'9", so I do think that as drafted, it's a fairly short skirt. If I had wanted to make the longer midi length version, I would have had to shorten that one because that one came to my ankles. But the knee length one was pretty much perfect. So as I was saying, if I did make the skirt again, and I probably will because it's very easy, I would do a few things differently next time. So like I said, there are darts in the back, and for my body shape, I don't really need those darts. So to simplify it even further, if I did this again, I would probably just cut out 2 fronts so that the front and the back are exactly the same. And I would also redraft the waistband piece. Because of the way they want you to do the waistband, you cut 2 waistband pieces so there's a seam on the sides, and I would probably just cut it on the fold and take away some seam allowance so that you just have one long piece that you fold in half and then attach like I did as I just indicated. And that would make it even simpler, and it would actually even be simpler to wear because the front and the back would be the same, and so it wouldn't matter which direction you put it on. But yeah, I probably will make this skirt again because, as I said, it is super simple to put together, and it's a nice, like a knit pencil skirt is always something handy and useful to have in my wardrobe. And I actually really liked that I was able to make a matching set out of only 2 yards because sometimes like these loungewear fabrics can be quite expensive. I don't remember how much I paid for this one, but you know, they can be like $25, $30 a yard. And sometimes I just don't want to buy like 4 yards to make a sweatshirt and matching pants because that gets really expensive. But I can buy a little bit less fabric and get a sweatshirt and a matching skirt, and that's also equally cute and comfortable to wear. And it takes less fabric. So I definitely think that I'll be doing this again. So I do have a picture to show you of me wearing the set together. I've tucked in the sweatshirt and just worn a really wide white belt to kind of like set it off, and I think it looks really cute as a set, but I'm also looking forward to wearing the pieces separately, and I will be styling them separately in my November makes video, so stay tuned for that one. So after finishing that set, I wanted to take part in the I'm So Festive challenge, which is hosted by Simply Delilah and Kim Gaddy Sews, and they're both on YouTube, and I'll also put their Instagram handles in the description box below. But I have to say, like, if you guys watched my holiday ideas video, you will know this by now, that I'm just not a big holidays person. So I'm not going to be the person to go all out and buy Christmassy fabric and do something like really festive, holiday-ish, because that's just not me. So at first I was thinking, oh, I just won't participate in that challenge. It's just not for me. However, I was going through my fabric stash and I found some fabric that has been there since, I think I bought it in like 2017 or 2018 from Joann's. And it's a leftover rim knit piece. I'll just show you the fabric. So this is actually a fleece fabric that has like a sweater knit like front. Like, let me just show you the inside. The inside is totally just like a polar fleece, but then the outside has this like knitted look fabric. And I bought this because I'm a knitter and I like any kind of fabric that kind of mimics stranded color work. So I had bought this fabric and like back in the day, and I made a pair of Hudson pants by True Bias. And this was like before I really had any sort of understanding of how to fit pants. And the Hudson pants do not fit me. They're awful. Like, they fit horribly in so many ways. So I made the pants out of this, and then I didn't really wear them because they didn't fit. And I was very sad because I really did like this fabric. So that pair of pants didn't stay in my stash or in my wardrobe for very long. But I had about a yard of this fabric left over, and I pulled it out of my stash, and I was like, you know, this would actually be perfect for the So Festive challenge because it does feel holiday-ish with the design, but actually the colors aren't super traditional, and this is truly something that I would actually wear myself without feeling weird about it. So I pulled out a new Simplicity pattern, and I did not grab the pattern to show you, but I'll put the cover up on the screen. It's, like I said, it's from one of their newer collections. It's a vest pattern. And I think it was View B, which is the pullover style, and it has the band. And then for the trim fabric, because this fleece has basically no stretch, I knew it was going to be stretchy enough for the bands. So I used a leftover cotton bamboo French terry that was in my stash. And it was stretchy enough that I was like, that'll work for the bands. So this is very simple to put together. You just have your front, your back, you've got your neckband, your waistband, and then it has front and back facings. So you do attach a facing, turn it to the inside, and then you top stitch it down. And I'm a little bit undecided whether I like that finish or not. I kind of debated if I made this again, I might draft armbands instead, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know, maybe the facings are fine. So it is meant to be a drop shoulder, so it sits over the shoulder a little bit, and I wasn't sure if I was going to like that detail, but after trying it on with a few different things in my closet, I do think that I like it. I think that it's fine. It's very current as far as styles go. And this is relatively cropped. Now, as far as I could tell on the pattern envelope, it was really hard to see how cropped this was, but on me, it hits me kind of right below my waist level, like it would cover the waist of high-waisted pants or jeans. And so it is relatively cropped, so just beware of that if you want to make this view. There are some longer views included in the pattern envelope. I did make one mistake, and that was totally my own fault. It says on the pattern pieces that the neckband is supposed to be put in with a 3/8" seam allowance, but I was kind of just off in, like, I don't know, autopilot mode, and I wasn't thinking about it, and I used a 5/8" seam allowance. And so because of that, my neckband is a little bit wonky, and I really think it's because I used the wrong seam allowance. But next time I won't do that, and it'll be fine. And I'm not really that worried about it. I think that it looks fine from a distance. So yeah, this is really cute. I'll insert a picture of me wearing it. There was one thing about the pattern that I thought was really weird, and that is when I bought the pattern envelope, it was very thick, and I wasn't sure why I was like, did they accidentally stuff two pattern sheets like in one envelope? Because it was just really, really thick. When I opened up the pattern, the reason it was so thick is because all of the different views, nearly all of them were not nested. Like each size had its own pattern piece. And so there was like a gajillion pattern pieces. I made the size extra small in this, and I had to double check several times to make sure that I was actually cutting out the extra small pattern pieces. And so it took a little bit of extra work to make sure that I was cutting around the correct size. However, I did come around on that. At first I thought it was annoying, but then I was like, it is actually kind of nice, because if I ever do want to make a different size, I still have all of the pieces intact that I could go back and cut a new size. However, they weren't consistent with it. There was another view, not this one, but a different view. There was a back piece that had all of the sizes nested. So I have no idea why they did some of them completely separate and some of them together. It makes no logical sense whatsoever. I don't know if this is just for this one pattern or if it's a trend. Let me know if you've made any Simplicity patterns recently, and if you've noticed that they started going to a standard where they do not nest sizes as much, because I don't know what's going on with that. So yeah, this was the next project that I finished. So before I forget, I do just want to thank Delilah and Kim for hosting the I'm So Festive challenge. It was really fun to take part, even if it's not my typical Scrooge activity. So thank you ladies so much for hosting, and it was a lot of fun to participate. So the next project that I finished was the Love Notions boyfriend cardigan out of some navy cotton spandex French terry that I got from Metro Textiles. Way back in the day, probably 2018, I made a Love Notions boyfriend cardigan out of some wool, navy wool that I really loved. I loved that cardigan, but I had bought it, I don't know if I bought it from Denver Fabrics or Fashion Fabrics Club. I always get the two of them mixed up, but one of them, and I don't buy from those shops anymore because basically everything I've ever bought from them was not good quality, and this was no exception. It felt really soft on the skin, but it pilled like really quickly, and I think it even like wore holes in it after a very short time. So even though I absolutely love that cardigan, it did not stay in my wardrobe for very long, but I always had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to recreate it because I did really love that cardigan. So I decided to use this fabric, and I remade it. So the first time around that I made the Love Notions boyfriend cardigan, I used the old version. She has since come out with a newer version with the expanded size range, and I believe that she even added an extra view that wasn't there before, but I just used the old pattern because I already had it taped together. Although that did end up being kind of a mistake in some respects, and I'll get to that. So in the older version, I made the size extra small. I don't know if there's been any sizing changes at the lower end of the range, but just to let you know, I made the extra small in the small version. I did the hooded cardigan, and I used about 2 yards of fabric, and I did do the side slits. I debated about whether or not I wanted to put in the slits, but I decided in the end that I did really like that feature. This cardigan is just, it's still really, really wet. It was on my drying rack and it's still very wet, and that's just life. So a few things about this cardigan. So the length is longer than it's supposed to be on me because I'm so short. It basically comes just right above my knees, but I actually really like that. I really like the hood. So the thing that I messed up that I should have fixed from the first time I made it is that I made the sleeves initially too short. So when I alter patterns, I usually write on the pattern pieces what alterations that I make so that if I ever make it again, I can go back and remember what I did. So I did have it written on the pattern that I had shortened the sleeves by 4 inches. Now I have since learned from that Love Notion patterns are a little bit short in the sleeves compared to other patterns. And I knew that the 4 inches was probably going to be too short, but I don't know, I guess I was feeling lazy and I was just like, I'm just going to go with it. But one thing that I did remember to do, and I'm glad I did that, is that I also remembered my first version that the sleeve hems were really narrow. So I did add, just on the fabric when I was cutting it out, I added an inch on either side of the sleeve cuff to make it 2 inches wider. And I'm so glad that I did that because it fits a lot better. So I made up the whole cardigan. I did not finish the sleeves because I really was thinking in the back of my mind that like these sleeves are going to be too short. So I made the whole thing and tried it on, and sure enough, they were too short. So to fix that, I just went back to my leftover fabric that I had, and I made a cuff piece, and I added a cuff that's about 1.5 inches wide, and that worked perfectly. I put on the cuff, and it's the perfect length now. And this time, I was smart enough to go back to the sleeve piece and alter it to make it longer and also wider so that next time if I make this cardigan again, which I probably will, I can just go ahead and cut it out and it'll fit that way. So I do really love this cardigan. I think that I'm gonna live in it. It's basically, I think it's gonna be kind of acting as kind of like a robe or a dressing gown when I'm just hanging out around the house. And I do want to make another one of these eventually because I'd like to try out the shawl collar version. I haven't tried that one before. I've only made the one with the hood. The only other thing about this that I kind of regret is I was being lazy and I was just using the rainbow serger thread that I had in my serger for everything. And I kind of wish that I hadn't, because when you wear the cardigan, you can see the stitching on the hood, which, I mean, I guess it's not awful. It's kind of a pretty decorative touch, but I think for me, I would have preferred it to just be navy. So I'll know that for next time. But yeah, super happy with this cardigan. I love how it looks. I'll insert some photos of me wearing it. And yeah, I think this is just going to be my perfect loungewear lying around the house cardigan. Okay, so that concludes everything that I finished, and now let me briefly talk about what I'm working on. I think that I might go ahead and do a full review of this pattern when I finish it, and so I'm just going to be brief about this, but I'm working on the Itch to Stitch Varzim overalls, which was part of my November plans. However, in that plans video, I was going to use a stretch woven. I was going to use a corduroy that I got from Joann's. But when I actually read the pattern, it does say that you can use stretch wovens, but it also says that you need at least a little bit of vertical stretch. And the stretch woven did not have any vertical stretch. And because I was feeling a little bit gun shy about the fit, I decided not to risk it, and I used a Ponte knit that I got from Metro Textiles in this royal blue color. So I decided to make this as sort of a wearable muslin because I'm not sure about the fit, And this fabric, I'm not super crazy about the way that it feels, and so if it doesn't work out, I'm not going to be heartbroken about it. So I'm actually pretty close to being done with this. I have this is going to be like impossible to show you without the clips on, but I have the front and the back bib attached, and like, here's the bib part. So that part's done. And then I also have the pants done, and the waistband, I just basted the waistband to the pants. And so I'm actually ready to attach the bib to the pants. And then all I have left to do beyond that is put on the leg cuffs. I have to put the straps together with the little buckles, and I have to put in the drawstring. Oh, and I have to finish this waistband. Wait, where'd it go? I have to finish the waistband part too. But otherwise, it's pretty much close to being finished. I did try on these pants to see if they were gonna fit, and I think they're gonna be okay. So just quickly, I cut out the size 2, but I graded up to a size 4 in the calves because I knew that they were gonna be too tight on my calves. And even at the size 4, they're still too tight. So, but I didn't wanna get too crazy with making all these adjustments my first time making it. So, you know, I'm gonna wait to finish the whole thing, see how it fits, but it's very likely that I will go ahead and do a full calf adjustment for future versions. Again, I gotta wait and see how this works out and if it fits and if I wear it. But so far, I do really like it. I've never worn overalls as an adult, but I am really liking this, so we'll see how it turns out. But yeah, I'm really happy with this. The directions are really clear. And yeah, hopefully it'll be finished by next week, and I'll have a full review to go over it with you. So I think the last thing I'm going to share with you is this week in the Friday Sews Facebook group, the question was to share what Black Friday sales you were taking part in. And if you guys have been watching my channel for a while, you will know this, but essentially last year during Black Friday, I found that I spent too much money, and so at that point I decided to save money every month for this Black Friday so that I would just have a large sum of money to spend on sales. So I have purchased quite a few things. I think once all of the fabric is here, I'm gonna rearrange my fabric stash, and then maybe once that's done, I'll try to give you a little tour of what my fabric stash looks like when it's all nicely organized, because it'll probably only stay organized for like 5 seconds. But I'll try to give you a little tour of that when it's finished. But today I'm just going to tell you the shops that I purchased from. And I have been buying things because Black Friday sales have been popping up really early, like even at the end of October they started popping up. So not every shop is having a sale this weekend, just be aware of that. But just to kind of give you the list of places that I have purchased from. So there was Serge Fabrics. I bought from Knit Pop. I've never bought from Knit Pop before, and just my quick little review is that I bought quite a few pieces from them, and probably only like 50% I thought was decent fabric. So I probably won't order from them again because I just think it's a little bit too risky. But I did get some okay pieces from them also. So I bought from them for the first time. I ordered from StyleMaker Fabrics. I ordered from Blackbird Fabrics. I bought from Fabric.com and D&H Fabrics. I think that's all the fabric shops that I bought from. And I actually haven't bought any patterns yet because I'm kind of waiting to see what goes on sale and what I really want to buy versus what I don't really need, or do I really need these things is what I'm trying to figure out. But I probably will buy a small number of patterns, but I'm not sure where I'm going to get those from, and maybe I'll do a haul next week or something. So I think that's it for me today. I hope that you are enjoying the holiday weekend if you're in the US, or if you're outside the US, that you're just enjoying life. And thank you so much for watching. I appreciate that you take time out of your day to watch my videos. If you enjoyed it, I hope you'll hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. And I will see you next time.